rented a place in upstate New York. Old two-story, cheap rent, quiet street. The kind of house you convince yourself is a steal, even though deep down you know there's usually a reason. The basement door was in the kitchen. Thick wood, old knob. The kind of door that shuts with a sound you feel in your chest. Our landlord didn't mention the basement at all. He did the smiling welcome home routine, handed us the keys and left. At first it was just a basement. Concrete floor, exposed beams, shelves, washer-dryer, one hanging bulb. Cold, stale, nothing dramatic. My girlfriend Hannah hated it immediately. She wouldn't go down there alone. I asked her why, and she shrugged like she didn't want to sound crazy. "It feels like someone's waiting down there," she said. I laughed, not to be mean, more like I was trying to shake it off. "It's just the dark," I told her. "Every basement feels like that." A week after we moved in, I walked into the kitchen one morning and stopped so fast my stomach tightened. The basement light was on, not bright, just that dull glow bleeding out from under the door. I stood there thinking, no, I turned that off. I asked Hannah. She didn't even look up from her coffee. Not me. I didn't go near it. I told myself one of us forgot. I opened the door and went down. The bulb gave off a low hum, like it had been on for a while, like the filament was still warm. Then I smelled it. Not damp, not mold, human. Old sweat and something metallic, like pennies, like a hospital hallway at night. On my way back up, my hand brushed the doorframe. Something rough caught my skin. Scratches, faint but clear, not random. They started low and climbed higher, over and over in the same place, like someone kept reaching for the knob and missing. I stared way longer than I should have. Then I shut the door. And I didn't tell Hannah about the scratches yet, because saying things out loud makes them real. A few nights later, I woke up at 1:30 a.m. to a single thud. Not upstairs, not outside. From the kitchen, then another, slow, heavy, like someone shifting their weight, trying not to make noise but failing. Hannah was asleep. The house was dead silent except for that. I got up barefoot, heart doing that stupid thing where it tries to climb out of your throat. I stood in front of the basement door. Silence. I put my hand on the knob. Cold. That kind of cold that feels too concentrated, like someone had just held it. I opened it and flicked the light on. Empty stairs. Empty basement. Nothing moved. Nothing to explain what I just heard. I went back to bed and told myself it was the house settling. After that, Hannah started checking the basement door before going to sleep, not locking it. There wasn't a real lock, just a latch that never felt like it caught unless you pushed the door twice. It became her routine, and she started leaving the small kitchen light on at night, the dim one over the sink. Like she didn't want the kitchen to ever be fully dark. I asked her what she thought was down there. She said, "I don't know, but it gets so quiet near that door it feels wrong. Like the house is holding its breath." A week later, I was taking the trash out and our neighbor was checking his mail. Older guy, retired, friendly in that quiet way. He nodded and asked how we liked the place. I said it was nice. Quiet. He nodded slowly. Then he asked, casual as anything, "You using the basement much?" I said no. He exhaled like I'd given him good news. "Good," he said. Then after a pause, "Keep it that way." The next morning I went down to do laundry. I needed to prove to myself I wasn't letting fear rot my brain. While moving boxes, I noticed something behind the shelves. A folding chair. Old, rusted, facing the wall, directly under a beam. There was dust everywhere down there, except the seat. The seat looked used. Recently sat in. Dust doesn't lie. I searched the basement, every corner, every shelf. Nothing. No wrappers, no bedding, no clothes. Just that chair. And behind it, a notebook. No name. Just dates, short entries. Like a diary written by someone trying to stay sane. The handwriting changed, shaky in places, then suddenly neat again. They're louder upstairs tonight. I heard her laugh. I miss that sound. If I stay quiet, they leave me alone. They think I don't notice. I always notice. Then a line that tightened my throat. He comes down when they're asleep. Then squeezed into the margin like it was an afterthought. I can't go upstairs anymore. It feels like walking into a grave. And the last one was written darker, heavier. The door doesn't stay shut unless you push it twice. That's when I checked the last date. 3 days before we moved in. Not years, not months, 3 days. The paper felt wrong, slightly tacky, like the ink hadn't fully dried. Hannah didn't hesitate. Call someone, she said. So I did. 2 officers came and looked around. They took the notebook, asked questions. Any strangers? Any break-ins? Any signs of someone living there? I told them about the chair, the smell, the scratches. They photographed the scratches, checked windows and doors, wrote down the dates. Nothing. No forced entry. One officer said, probably a squatter. They move around, especially in colder months. Then he added, like he was trying to seal the fear shut with his voice. If they were down there, they're gone now. They started to leave. But before they did, one officer paused at the basement door. He didn't speak. He just stood there with his head tilted slightly, listening. Then his face changed, only for a second, like he heard something he didn't want to explain. He cleared his throat, stepped back, and walked out. That night I woke up around 3 a.m. with that feeling, like someone was in the room. Hannah was beside me asleep. The air felt held. Then I heard it, breathing, slow, deliberate, not upstairs, from below, from the basement. It wasn't trying to hide. I sat up and held my breath. The breathing stopped instantly, like it noticed, like it was listening back. Hannah mumbled, half asleep, voice cracked with fear. Please, not tonight. I got up and opened our bedroom door. The kitchen was dark except the dim light over the sink, and the basement door was open. Not wide, just cracked, enough to make the darkness at the bottom of the stairs look like a line that shouldn't exist. The basement light was off. I stood there. From the dark, something shifted, a soft scrape, then a whisper, not a word, just that sound someone makes right before they speak. I slammed the door shut so hard the frame rattled. Then, without thinking, I pushed it again, twice, and I hate admitting this, but I stayed there with my hands on the wood, pressing like I could hold it back. Hannah started crying, shaking, can't breathe crying. At sunrise, we packed. Not neatly, not carefully, just enough to leave. While we were loading the car, the neighbor saw us. He walked over slowly, like he'd been waiting for this. They told me he left, he said. I asked him who. He looked past me toward the kitchen window. The man who lived there before you, he said, lost his family. Something happened. He didn't take it well. He started sleeping in the basement. Said it was easier. Said upstairs felt too empty. I asked, so he moved out? The neighbor's face tightened. They never found him, he said. Weeks later, after we'd already found another place, my phone rang. Unknown number. It was the landlord. He sounded annoyed. He said a new tenant had moved in and complained about noises, breathing, lights turning on, the basement door being open in the morning. Then he asked, like it was nothing, "By the way, or you didn't leave anything down there, did you?" I didn't answer because I knew the truth. It didn't matter what we left behind because the basement was never empty. It just needed someone upstairs so it could pretend it wasn't alone. And the worst part? Since then, I've caught myself doing it in the dark, reaching for a door that isn't there yet, and pushing it twice. It was a little after 3 a.m. when I realized I wasn't alone. Not in the dramatic horror movie way. No jump scare, no loud bang, just a feeling. That heavy pressure in your chest when your body notices something before your brain catches up. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, phone in my hand, scrolling without reading. The house was dead quiet, too quiet, no cars outside, no TV noise. Even the fridge downstairs wasn't humming like it usually did. That's what made me look up, because silence in a lived-in house isn't normal. There's always something, a click, a creak, air moving through a vent. But this felt like the house had paused, like it was listening. And then I heard it, a sound from the basement. Not footsteps, not a thud, more like someone shifting their weight carefully. You know that soft scrape shoes make on concrete? Yeah, that. My mouth went dry instantly, because your brain can ignore a lot of things, but it can't ignore intent. Humans recognize purposeful movement faster than they recognize words. My body reacted before I could think, skin prickling, heartbeat climbing, that dumb, guilty feeling, like I'd been caught doing something wrong in my own house. And then my brain tried to rescue me. Pipes, old house, you're tired, it's nothing. So I forced myself to stare at my phone again, like ignoring it would erase it. Big mistake. A few minutes later, the scrape happened again. Same sound, but closer, directly beneath my room. And that's when my stomach twisted, because there weren't any pipes under my bedroom. None. That side of the basement was open concrete and storage shelves. I'd been down there the first week we moved in, dragging boxes around, trying to figure out what was worth keeping. So whatever I'd heard wasn't the house settling. I set my phone down and stood up slowly, like fast movement would make it real. I opened my bedroom door. The hallway was pitch black. At the end of it, the kitchen light was off, which was weird, because I always left it on at night. Not because I was scared, just because I hated walking into a black kitchen half asleep. And the basement door was open, not wide, just a crack, like someone had opened it carefully so it wouldn't make noise. I stood there staring at that thin slice of darkness for way too long, because your mind does this thing where it starts filling in gaps. It imagines a hand on the knob, a face just out of sight, a body on the first step. I whispered, "Hello?" I didn't expect an answer. I got one. From downstairs, a voice said, "Yeah?" My voice, same tone, same hesitation, but wrong, like someone copying it without understanding how it should sound, like it was wearing my voice. My whole body went cold. I didn't run, I didn't shout. I backed up slowly, shut my bedroom door, locked it, and pressed my palm against the wood, like I could hold the world on the other side. I didn't turn the lights on, because a stupid part of me thought, If it couldn't see me, maybe it wouldn't come closer. I sat on the floor with my back against the bed and stared at the door until my eyes started burning. Then my phone lit up. No notification, no vibration, just the screen waking up, like something had touched it. And right after that, I heard footsteps coming up the basement stairs. Slow, careful, like whoever it was knew exactly where each step was. One step, a pause, another step, a pause. Not stumbling, not rushing, measured, like it had done this before. The steps stopped, right at the top. Then a knock, soft, 3 times, and a whisper right outside my room. "I know you're awake." My throat locked. I didn't breathe, didn't blink, because in a house that quiet, even swallowing feels loud. A full minute passed. Then the footsteps went back down, slow, calm, like it was satisfied, like it knew it didn't need to force anything. In the morning, sunlight made the whole thing feel embarrassing, like I'd let one weird moment turn into a nightmare. So I checked the basement. Nothing broken, nothing missing. I checked the basement windows too. Locked. No signs anyone forced their way in. But the air felt wrong. Thick, warm, like someone had been breathing down there for hours. And there was a smell. Not rot, not mold. More like old breath. Like when someone speaks too close to you in a crowded elevator. I stood on the bottom step and listened. Nothing. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the silence down there wasn't empty. It was controlled. That day I kept telling myself it was stress, sleep deprivation, my brain playing tricks. There's a psychological thing where fear makes you hunt patterns. Sometimes it even invents them. So I kept repeating that until the second night. A little before 3 a.m., the basement light turned on by itself. I saw it from the hallway, that dull glow leaking under the door like water. My heart started pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out. Then I heard humming. Low, off-key. A tune my mom used to hum when I was a kid. She'd hum it while washing dishes, folding laundry, brushing my hair when I was half asleep. I hadn't heard that tune in years. For a second, I forgot to be scared. And that's what scared me the most, because it felt chosen, like it knew exactly what to use. I stepped toward the basement door. The humming stopped the second the latch moved. Not faded, stopped. Like whoever was doing it had been waiting for that exact sound. I opened the door. The stairs were dark except for the light at the bottom. I took one step down, silence. I took another. Then a voice behind me said, calm and close. "Why do you always stop here?" I spun around so fast my shoulder hit the wall. Nobody, but the kitchen air felt occupied, like someone was standing too close. My eyes snapped back down the stairs. The light was off, and something shifted in the darkness. Not fast, not slow, like it was adjusting to me. Then it spoke again from down there, clear as day. "Come on, you're already halfway." My legs went numb, and then they worked. I ran. I didn't even shut the basement door. I grabbed my keys and slept in my car that night, parked under a street light, like light could somehow protect me. Doors locked, windows up, checking the rear-view mirror every time my own breathing got too loud. The third night was worse, because it didn't feel curious anymore. It felt sure. It was exactly 3 a.m. when my bedroom door creaked open. I watched it happen. Slow, controlled, no rush, like a hand was turning the knob with patience. Something stood in the doorway. I couldn't see it, but I could hear breathing, not heavy, not angry, calm, like it wasn't scared of me at all. It said my name, perfectly. Then it said, almost like it was studying me, "You go quiet when you're scared." My chest seized. I screamed. The lights came on. I grabbed the nearest thing, lamp, phone, anything, and ran into the hall. Nothing there. No footsteps running away. No shadow. Just empty air. But downstairs, the basement door was wide open, and the kitchen tiles had something on them. Not mud exactly, more like damp prints, bare feet, human-shaped, and the direction was wrong. They weren't leading away. They were leading toward my room, evenly spaced, slow, like whoever made them wasn't running. They were walking, like they knew the house belonged to them. I stood there staring until my legs started shaking, because now it wasn't just sound. It wasn't just a feeling. It had left proof. I moved out 2 days later, didn't tell the landlord why, didn't argue about the lease, didn't look back. But here's the part that still ruins my sleep. Sometimes around 3 a.m., my phone will light up on its own. No call, no text, nothing, just the screen waking up. And faintly, from somewhere below, I'll hear breathing, matching mine, because whatever was in that basement didn't just want the house, it wanted me. And the scariest part? Some nights I catch myself going quiet before anything even happens, like my body still thinks it's standing in my doorway, listening. The part that still doesn't make sense isn't that the door opened. It's this. The key was still turned, the lock was still set, and the door was open anyway. I'm not careless with locks. I'm the type who locks something, then comes back and tests the handle again, once, sometimes twice, without even thinking about it. Not because I'm scared, because I grew up with a father who had one rule. If something ever goes wrong, it should never be because you were lazy. So when I tell you I lock that door, I don't mean I think I did. I mean I felt the pressure in my fingers. I heard the bolt slide. I tested it, and later, it was open. This happened while I was renting a small house on the edge of Bristol. Quiet street, normal neighbors, the kind of place where people get annoyed if you put the bins out too early. I was staying there temporarily with my cousin, Adil. He worked night shifts, came home exhausted. He wasn't the prank type. He barely had energy to talk. The weird part of the house wasn't the attic or the bedrooms. It was the utility room. Not exactly a basement, more like a narrow concrete space built slightly underground, connected directly to the kitchen. Shelves, cleaning supplies, water heater, and one concrete step down into a strip of darkness that always felt colder than it should. The door never sat right in the frame. To lock it properly, you had to pull it inward, lift the handle slightly, then turn the key until it caught. If you didn't do it right, the door would pretend it was shut and pop open later. That's why I hated it. Not because it scared me, because it felt stubborn, like it didn't want to stay closed. That night was normal. Late dinner, TV low, phones glowing. Near midnight, I did my round. Front door, back door, windows. Then the utility room. I remember it clearly because the key jammed. Just for a second. I had to wiggle it, turn harder than usual, and then, clack. The bolt slid in. I tested the handle. Solid. From the sofa, Adil joked, "Relax, no one's stealing detergent." I told him to shut up and went upstairs. I woke up later, not from a sound, From that feeling where your body wakes up before your brain understands why. The house felt wrong, not creepy, just paused. No heater hum, no pipes, no distant traffic. And then I saw it, a thin strip of light under my bedroom door from downstairs. The kitchen light was on. I never leave it on, and Adil never turns it on at night. He uses his phone torch like a raccoon. So my first thought was, maybe he's up. But if Adil was up, I would hear him. He can't do anything quietly. I got out of bed slowly. The stairs creaked like the house was announcing me. Halfway down, the air changed. Warm, stale, like a closed room had just been opened. When I reached the kitchen, I saw it. The utility room door was open, not cracked, open enough to show the step going down. My chest tightened because I remembered the bolt sliding in. I walked closer and looked at the lock. The key was still there, still turned, still locked. But the door was open anyway. That's when the fear became simple, because forgetfulness doesn't do that. I shut it hard, locked it again, tested it twice until my knuckles hurt. Then I stood with my hand on the handle listening. Nothing, no movement, no sound from below, just silence. Not empty silence, careful silence. Like something was choosing not to move until I left. I turned the kitchen light off and went back upstairs. I didn't sleep. I just lay there staring, waiting for a sound that never came. Morning made it feel embarrassing, so I checked everything. Lock works, frame solid, no damage, windows untouched. And that night I decided I'd prove it. I put my phone on the counter, camera aimed at the door. I pulled it in, lifted the handle, turned the key. Clack. I tested the handle. Then quietly, like I was talking to myself, I whispered, locked. I went upstairs feeling stupid, and I woke up again later with the same feeling, the same strip of light under my door. This time my heart was already racing before I even stood up. I walked downstairs slower, kitchen light on, utility room door open. Again. I didn't even touch it. I went straight to my phone and watched the footage. There I was, locking it, testing it, hours of nothing. Then, just after 1, the audio picked up something. Not a voice, not footsteps. A soft sound, like fabric brushing against wood. Then silence. Then the kitchen light switched on, and the door didn't fling open. It eased open. Slow, careful, like whoever did it understood that noise wakes people. I rewound it again and again, searching for a shadow, a hand, anything. There was nothing, just the door opening like it had decided to. Then I looked down at the tiles, and my stomach dropped. Bare footprints, damp, not muddy like outside dirt, more like someone had stepped out of something cold. They started at the utility room and stopped at the bottom of the stairs, not halfway up, not upstairs, just stopped. Like whoever came out stood there facing the staircase, listening. That's when I realized what scared me. Burglars rush. They grab. They leave. Whatever this was patient. I went upstairs and shook Adil awake. He followed me down annoyed and half asleep. Then he saw the open door and went quiet. He tried to laugh, forced, thin. Okay. Funny. I didn't do it, I said. He looked at the footprints. His face changed. After a long moment, he said very quietly, "Why is it warm down there?" Because it was. Warm air drifted out like someone had been sitting in a closed room for hours. Adil took one step forward, then stopped like his body refused to go any closer. I locked the door again and said, "We're leaving tonight." We stayed at a cheap motel. Buzzing hallway lights, curtains that didn't fully close. We didn't talk much. At some point after 1, my phone buzzed. Motion detected, kitchen. I opened the live feed. The kitchen was empty, still. For a second, I felt stupid again. Then the overhead light flicked on, and the utility room door opened, slow, careful, like 2 fingers on the edge, trying not to make the latch click. Then the feed stuttered, froze, and in the last clear frame, at the edge of the doorway, there was a shape, low, still, not rushing out, not hiding, just there, like it knew the camera was watching. The screen went black. Not my phone dying, not the app closing, just black, like something had covered the lens. Adil saw it and went pale. He didn't ask questions. He just whispered, "Don't go back." We packed in daylight. Fast, no sorting, no, "Maybe we can stay." Just bags and silence. On my last trip into the kitchen to grab chargers, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. Scratched into the paint above the lock. Old marks, not fresh, like it had been there the whole time, and I'd somehow missed it. 6 words. "It opens when you stop checking." My stomach dropped because it didn't read like a threat. It read like instructions, like a rule the house had been following longer than we'd been alive. I don't live there anymore, but sometimes late at night, I still wake up and hold my breath because my body remembers what it felt like to stand at the top of those stairs, knowing the door downstairs was open again. And something was patient enough to wait quietly on the other side. I used to think stories about voices copying people were fake, too dramatic, too convenient, something people add to make a story scarier. But there's one thing nobody warns you about. When something uses a voice you trust, your fear doesn't come first. Your response does. That's why what happened still terrifies me. Because when I heard my name, I didn't feel scared. I felt summoned. I was renting a duplex just outside Sheffield. Nothing creepy about it. Normal street, normal neighbors. Cars parked the same way every night. 2 floors, small yard, and a shared basement. The basement was divided into storage cages with wire mesh and padlocks. Each tenant had their own section. The landlord actually sounded proud of it. "Extra storage," he said. "Very convenient." I barely used it. I worked late shifts, came home exhausted, ate whatever was easiest, slept with the TV on low, because silence made my thoughts too loud. That routine matters, because routine teaches your brain when it's safe to stop paying attention. The first time it happened, it was around 2:40 a.m. I wasn't fully asleep, that half-dream state where your body's resting, but your mind is still floating. That's when I heard it. Clear, close, normal volume. Someone said my name, not shouted, not whispered, like someone standing at the bottom of the stairs, calling up casually. The exact tone my sister uses when she wants my attention, but doesn't want to sound urgent. I opened my eyes immediately, heart calm, no panic yet. Because fear comes after your brain fails to explain something. I sat up and said, "Yeah?" No answer. I waited. Nothing. I checked my phone. No calls, no messages. My brain grabbed the easiest excuse. Half-sleep hallucination, dream residue. That happens. So I lay back down. And that's when it happened again. My name. Closer, from below, from the basement stairwell. This time my chest tightened. because hallucinations don't move. I got out of bed slowly. The hallway felt colder than usual, not ghost cold, just that sharp awareness cold when your body is suddenly alert. The house was silent, not peaceful silence, dead silence. No pipes, no fridge hum, no outside traffic. I went down the stairs without turning any lights on. Not because I was brave, because some part of me didn't want to announce myself. At the bottom, I stopped, listened, nothing. Then, a small sound, not footsteps, more like someone shifting their weight, waiting. And then, my voice said my name again, from the basement. Same pitch, same timing, same slight drag on the second syllable. But there was something missing, emotion. It sounded like my voice, but hollow, like it had been learned, not lived in. I didn't answer this time. I held my breath, and the silence that followed felt intentional, like whatever it was had tried something and was now watching to see if it worked. I backed away, locked the basement door, checked it again. Then I sat on my couch with every light on until sunrise, feeling stupid. Morning didn't make me feel safe. Morning just made me feel embarrassed. The second night I recorded audio, just in case. I left my phone on the kitchen counter, microphone facing the basement door. Then I went upstairs and told myself I'd prove it was nothing. Sleep won. I woke up again around 2:47 a.m., not because I heard my name, because I felt watched. That pressure in the air, that sense of presence your body insists on, even when your brain argues. Then I heard it. My name, right outside my bedroom door. Same voice, mine. Softer, careful, like it didn't want to wake the neighbors. Then it said something else. Come here. That wasn't something I say. That's how I knew, because it wasn't just copying my sound. It was testing what I'd respond to. I didn't move, didn't breathe. The handle didn't turn. No footsteps, just silence. Then, the voice came from the basement again, calling my name, like it was confused, like it was trying to locate me. That was worse because it meant it wasn't stuck in one place, or worse, it didn't need to move. In the morning, I played the recording, hours of nothing. Then, at exactly 2:47 a.m., my voice, clear as day, saying my name, pause, then again. Then something that made my hands start shaking. Another voice, also mine, answering it, slower, lower, like a second version that hadn't quite finished learning. Two versions of me, talking to each other, and I was upstairs the whole time. I replayed it again and again, waiting for my brain to catch the trick. There wasn't one. That day I went down into the basement in daylight, because daylight lies to you. It makes you think you're in control. The basement smelled normal. Concrete, cardboard, dust. But at the bottom of the stairs, I noticed something I hadn't before. Scuff marks on the concrete, like shoes had been turning in place, right where someone would stand if they were looking up the stairs, waiting, listening. I didn't go further. I locked the door again, then checked it again. That night I wasn't alone. My friend Mark stayed over. I didn't tell him everything, just said the house felt off. He laughed. Nothing happened that night. No voice, no sounds. And that's when I realized something worse. It wasn't random. It was selective. It didn't want witnesses. The fourth night Mark left early, I locked every door, left lights on, even shoved a chair under the basement knob, like that would matter. At 3:02 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered, irritated. Silence, then breathing, slow, controlled. Then my voice said, "Why won't you come down?" I said, "Who is this?" And my voice answered back, "I'm right here." The call ended. No call log, no missed call, nothing. Then I heard something real. Footsteps coming up the basement stairs. Slow, careful, practiced. And just before they reached the top, my voice whispered from right behind the door, "I'm getting better." I didn't sleep. At sunrise, the basement door was closed, locked, chair still there, but the kitchen smelled like warm breath, like someone had been standing there for a long time. I moved out within a week, didn't argue about the deposit, didn't wait for paperwork. I left like the place had a timer. But here's what I don't tell people. Sometimes when I'm alone and the house is quiet, I hear my name from another room. Same voice, same tone. And the scariest part isn't that it sounds like me. It's that every time it sounds more natural, more confident, like it's almost finished learning. And some nights I answer before I even realize I did.